So, Nuggets versus Suns, it should be a good series. Two teams that have made it out of the first round in 6 games, but maybe a bit unexpected. The Nuggets beat the Blazers and the Suns beat the Lakers. So, with the Nuggets, they do have a few injuries, mainly Jamal Murray, who's out for the season, PJ Dozier, who is out, and then also Will Barton, who is out for Game 1, but might return. I don't know. I'm not the Nuggets medical staff. And then for the Suns, they don't really have anyone out, but Chris Paul had that shoulder injury against the Lakers, so he was able to play, but it was affecting him. He was a bit more reluctant to shoot from 3, but I'm assuming he'll play and is at least 80% of normal Chris Paul. So getting right into it, I think the biggest X factor in this series is Deandre Ayton's play on both ends of the court, because he is so valuable to the Suns, mainly because he's their only real big guy. I mean, they have like Kaminsky and Saric off the bench, but when you're going up against someone like Jokic, you want a proper big. I think he would just expose anyone who's not Ayton, and he probably will have some success against Ayton, Jokic that is. So Ayton has to be big in this series. 3 things. Number 1, defending Jokic and not fouling. As I mentioned, the Suns don't have another big, so they need Ayton to be able to stay on the floor for what could be like 40 minutes a game. So making sure he can go to the distance and guard Jokic, that's going to be very important. And then also on the offensive end, make sure he's setting good screens in the pick and roll with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And if he gets a small switched onto him, make sure he can take advantage, whether that be in the post or getting an offensive rebound. I think Ayton is very, very important. Getting to the Suns offense, I think they can certainly have some success. You see their guards, Chris Paul and Booker, matching up against Campazzo and Austin Rivers and Monte Morris. They can certainly have some success there. I wonder if Devin Booker will have some post-ups. And then also, as I mentioned, Ayton, put Jokic in screen and roll action with Chris Paul, with Devin Booker. I think Ayton is going to be setting a lot of screens. And then, just forcing them to help out on Devin Booker or Chris Paul could open threes for Crowder and Mikal Bridges. So they also need to hit their threes. And then I also think Cameron Payne should be able to play well this series again. Just coming off the bench, hitting threes, making a few plays. Again, we'll see about Chris Paul's health. And he finally, I think you can also hide Cameron Payne on the defensive end. Not that he's a terrible defender, but you can put him on someone like Campazzo, and it'll be fine. So I have pretty high hopes for the Suns offensively because of what their guards can do, especially Devin Booker. I would suspect that they would guard Booker with Aaron Gordon. That would be my assumption. As I mentioned, they don't really have a guard defender. I mean, maybe Campazzo, but he's giving up, 6 inches? Devin Booker is a bigger player, and he also can have success in the post. Like, I would certainly would be willing to just post up Booker if he has someone like Campazzo or Morris or Austin Rivers on him, and see what he can do in the post, between having the mid-range and then also going strong to the rim. Also, I think, as I mentioned, they can have success attacking Jokic in the pick and roll, just making Jokic work. Jokic, his physical condition has improved a lot, but I still think you can have some, and he's not as bad a defender as he was before, but I still think you can have success attacking him and making him work, and then Ayton getting some offensive rebounds. And then with their bench unit, I mentioned Cameron Payne, just the role players hitting their shots. Maybe if Jokic is out of the game, you can have a few Saric post-ups. So I think the Suns can have success offensively. That's sort of the bottom line. And maybe they can even get someone like Jokic in foul trouble, because Jokic is very, very important for Denver with their injuries. So if we talk about the Denver offense, Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. is a lot of it, but it's also the ball movement and the 3-point shooting from the other Nuggets and Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic. Almost everyone on the Nuggets can shoot, which is a dangerous prospect. The Suns don't really have any weak defenders, though, which is encouraging. I think they can switch anything that doesn't include Jokic. Like, so for example, like if they're just running an action, they run a lot of off-ball screens, Denver. Let's say it's Aaron Gordon screening for Michael Porter Jr. and you have Crowder on Gordon and Bridges on Michael Porter Jr. You can just switch that. I think the Suns can be totally comfortable doing that between the two forwards, and then maybe Devin Booker and even Chris Paul. Maybe not on Porter Jr., but then again, Chris Paul is strong enough and smart enough to hold his ground. So I think the Suns can do a decent job defensively, but I also think the Nuggets will be able to get points on the board, just how well their offense runs. And Jokic, I think, can have some success against Ayton, especially if his three-point shot is falling. Because if his three-point shot is falling, then he starts to open up his pump fake and drive to the rim game, and then the the Suns are collapsing, and Jokic is finding open shooters, and it just leads to good offense. Also, I think the Suns will probably put Bridges on Porter Jr., which would be smart. I think Bridges is somewhat the ideal defender for Porter Jr. just because of his length. Obviously, Porter Jr. has such a high and a quick release that it will be tough to block his jump shots, but Bridges can certainly contest and do well. I wonder if Ayton does get into foul trouble, which is certainly a possibility. What will they do about Jokic? Like, will they try and stick Crowder on him? Will they just double and live with the other player taking shots? Maybe they'll think Kaminsky is a better option in terms of, having some weight. Maybe they'll go, they don't really have a great option and apart from Ayton. So I think, as I mentioned, Ayton not getting in foul trouble is just massive for the Suns. If I think of the Nuggets guards, I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker can probably do a good enough job. I think, obviously the Nuggets guards are going to get some good looks, but especially off of Jokic's stuff. I think they'll put Ayton on Jokic, as I mentioned a few times, but how much will they double Jokic? Because that's an interesting question, because I could easily see them bringing a double almost every time he touches the ball and just living with whatever the other Nuggets do. But I could also see them saying, play Ayton, play him one-on-one. He's going to have some success, but not let the other Nuggets get going. So I think their defense on Jokic will be interesting. It'll probably be a bit of both. Obviously initially trying to guard him one-on-one, but then if he gets good post position or if you have to double, and then if they do double, who will they double off of? Will they double off of Aaron Gordon and dare him to shoot? Maybe it'll be Campazzo, whoever they think the weakest Nugget in terms of shooting is. Or I think it might be Green or Millsap whenever they're in the game for the Nuggets. I think they will be the option to double off of and to get more guys on Jokic for the Suns. If I think of a prediction, I think it's going to be a close series. I think the Nuggets are incapable of playing a 5 or 4 game series, so I think it will be 6 or 7 games. I'm going to take the Suns. I think it will be a close series, but I think the injuries for the Nuggets will catch up to them, and I believe in Ayton to do a decent job on Jokic and then have success offensively, and I also believe in the Suns guards to attack the Nuggets guards and to attack Jokic on the defensive end. So I'll say Suns in 7 in a good back and forth series. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, guys. Leave a like, subscribe to this channel for more NBA content, and I'll see you guys next time.